Hey, what's up, guys? Silkdeep here. So, Apple have just wrapped up their September keynote event. They've announced quite a few new things, and so in this video, I wanted to just react to the event, cover the announcements that I found the most interesting, and to sort of just share my opinions. Also, can we just appreciate how good Apple's cinematography is? It still blows my mind that this entire keynote was shot on an iPhone. Yes, I know there will be the camera nerds who might point out things like the noise in the shadows and the blown out highlights and the sort of lack of depth of field. But unless you're actively searching for those things, I don't think anyone is actually going to notice them. And it just shows how good smartphone cameras have gotten. And it's especially inspiring to content creators like me who shoot all of their videos exclusively on an iPhone. But getting into the actual announcements themselves, first up, we got the Apple Watch Series 10. And apparently, Apple have redesigned the watch this year. And I say apparently because looking at these images on Apple's website, I actually can't tell much of a difference between the Series 10 and my current Series 7. They look pretty much the same as they did before. They support the same watch bands. But yeah, Apple are saying that the watches this year are 10% slimmer, and they've introduced a new polished titanium finish to replace the higher end stainless steel option, and that's meant to be about 20% lighter. And yeah, the polished edges on that titanium model do look really nice, especially that new gold color, because of course, one of the issues with using standard natural titanium is that you don't really get the same sort of shiny premium feel as stainless steel. So with devices like the iPhone, the titanium versions sometimes feel a bit less premium than the stainless steel ones, which is why I was actually hoping that they would bring this polished titanium finish to the iPhone 16 Pros, which I'll of course touch on properly later in this video. Probably the biggest design change to the Apple Watches this year is that the screen sizes have been increased to 46mm for the larger model and 42mm for the smaller model, which is only a 1mm increase. So I'm not entirely sure how that will translate into real world use. They also support faster charging, so they can go from 0 to 80% in just 30 minutes compared to 45 minutes before. And you can also play music directly from the watch. Not entirely sure who's going to benefit from this feature, but hey, it's nice that it's there. Probably the most useful feature is the new sleep apnea detection. Apple are saying that they are on the verge of receiving FDA approval in the US, so you can share your sleep data with your doctor to make an official diagnosis for it. It'll also be interesting to see if this is a US only feature or whether or not Apple will roll out the official diagnosis for sleep apnea in other countries like the UK and Europe as well. We also get a black version of the Apple Watch Ultra 2, along with a new Milanese loop band and some Hermes accessories to go along with it. But otherwise, there weren't really any major changes. Next up, we got the AirPods Max, and I feel like Apple were just trolling us here because they've waited 4 years to update these headphones, and all they've given us is USB-C and some new colors, and this personalized spatial audio feature that nobody is going to use. Yeah, I am honestly curious to know what the team who were working on this device were thinking when they cooked up this update. But after that, we got the AirPods 4, and these were also a slightly confusing update. So the AirPods have again been redesigned to give them an allegedly more comfortable feel, along with a smaller case. The new charging case basically supports a lot of the features that the AirPod Pros have, like the wireless charging and the speakers and the USB-C. However, they also support noise cancellation this year too, but you do have to pay an additional $50 to get the active noise cancellation. Next up, we got the iPhone 16s, and unsurprisingly, it was another incremental upgrade. Obviously, I know that everyone online will be laughing at this about how nothing has really changed this year, but equally, I feel like this is the way it's been for the past 4 to 5 years. Smartphones have just gotten so good nowadays that there aren't really any major ways you can actually improve them. But we did get one feature which was heavily rumored this year, which was that new capture button, or the camera control, as Apple are calling it. It's basically like a haptic button that lets you quickly open the camera app, take photos, and sort of control any major camera settings like the zoom or the focus. And it's basically trying to mimic how you take photos on an actual mirrorless camera. With most professional cameras out there, they usually have a dedicated button for taking photos with So it will be interesting to see if the capture button improves the photography experience on the iPhone. After that, Apple did spend quite a lot of time waffling on about Apple Intelligence, which is coming to the entire iPhone 16 lineup this year. And they were basically just repeating stuff that they'd already mentioned at WWDC. Obviously, if you're a tech nerd, you will have already seen most of this, but you have to remember that most regular consumers aren't watching WWDC every year. And of course, only the iPhone 15 Pros from last year are getting Apple Intelligence. So this will actually be the first time that most of the general public end up getting their hands on Apple Intelligence. So I sort of do get why Apple spent a lot of time talking about it, but there was one new exclusive AI feature that they announced. And this might just be my favorite software feature of the year. And it's called Visual Intelligence. It's basically like Google's circle to search feature on Android, but expanded. So you can now use the camera control button to scan an object in space, and the device will process what's in front of you and present you with some relevant information about it. And they showed off some pretty cool examples of a guy scanning an event poster and Siri then adding that event to their calendar. And all of this is being run on device, but you can hand over some tasks to other apps like ChatGPT or Google. So if you wanted to search for a product online with your camera, you can now do that. The one thing I will say about the iPhone 16s this year is that I am absolutely loving the new colors. I think that ultramarine color just looks stunning, and it probably will be the color to go for this year. On their website, Apple have also secretly upgraded the battery life on the iPhone 16s, and the wireless charging speeds have also increased to 25 watts compared to 15 watts previously. They've also upgraded the screen to make it more crack resistant. And then finally, we got the iPhone 16 Pros, which was the bit that I was most looking forward to. Obviously, the iPhone 16 Pros are getting the same upgrades as the regular 16s, with the ultra wide camera and Apple Intelligence and camera control. The main visual difference here is that the 16 Pros are slightly larger, with the 16 Pro coming in at 6.3 inches and the 16 Pro Max coming in at 6.9 inches compared to 6.7 inches before. The bezels have also shrunk as well, so hopefully the footprints of these new Pro iPhones shouldn't be too much of an increase. The cameras on the iPhone 16 Pros now support 4K recording at 120 frames per second, including in ProRes log, so you can get super slow motion, cinematic looking videos right on your iPhone. And Apple actually showed a demo of a weekend music video that was shot entirely on an iPhone. And again, this isn't meant to replace any sort of professional DSLR cameras or anything like that. It's really made as inspiration of showcasing the kinds of videos that can be shot on an iPhone. I think what's more interesting though is this new audio mix feature, which basically lets you adjust the way that voices sound in your video using three different voice options. So for example, you can decrease background sounds and focus just on the voices that are in your frame, so it's sort of like noise cancellation, but for the audio in your videos. And of course, the 5x telephoto camera is now coming to the regular iPhone 16 Pro, so you no longer have to purchase the larger model to get that 5x lens. The batteries have also been improved again, with up to 4 hours more battery life. I think if you're a regular iPhone Pro user, this could potentially be a big upgrade, because I remember back when I was using my iPhone 14 Pro 2 years ago, the battery life on that phone was just atrocious. I would have to be charging it like 2 times at least during a day. So it's good to see the battery life increasing this year. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this event. Personally, I felt that this event could have easily been summarized within like 40 minutes or something. There was really no need for Apple to drag it out to over an hour and a half for what was basically a bunch of incremental updates. But equally, the iPhone is Apple's flagship product. So, it does make sense that they're going to do everything that they can to make it seem like it's a big upgrade when for most people, it's probably not going to be. Because, of course, you have to remember that the biggest feature, which is Apple Intelligence, is still in beta and it's only available in US English to begin with. And there is that saying in tech that you shouldn't buy a product based on the promise of future updates. And it seems like with the iPhone 16s, Apple is saying, hey, we've got this brand new iPhone 16 with this great new Apple Intelligence feature, but you won't be able to unlock its full potential until next year. So yeah, I feel like for most people, it probably just makes more sense to wait for the iPhone 17s next year if you're desperate to get your hands on Apple Intelligence. I will, of course, be testing out the iPhone 16 Pro Max when it arrives, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.